so many of the same faces here today. The momentum has been maintained, funds have continued to be raised, refugees, a London-based organization that seeks to extend the experiences of Somali communities to the world.
Stop the killing in Sudan! Free the people, free the land! Civilian rule in Sudan! Civilian rule in Sudan! Who are we? Sudanese! What do we want? Peace and justice!
SAF-aligned groups are more inclined to engage with the Egyptian initiative because Egypt shares the vision of an army-led transition. Boo! Over 500,000 Sudanese refugees have fled to Egypt, where they face discrimination, arbitrary arrests, and deportation. Refugees are reportedly and repeatedly handcuffed, detained in inhumane conditions, and unlawfully deported back to Sudan.
Sudan's strategic location and its abundant natural resources, including arable land, make the battle for Khartoum a regional issue. Gulf heavyweights and mesopower Saudi Arabia and the UAE view the war as a prized opportunity to legitimize and cement their hegemonic status in the Middle East. Saudi Arabia has invested up to $24 billion in Sudan's economy, focusing on infrastructure, mining and agriculture, while also positioning itself as a peacemaker. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, a Saudi ally, has supported Saudi interests by providing military aid to the SAF, but has also been courted by the UAE with a $35 billion investment this year. This lack of a moral compass is exactly the problem from an area that's supposed to be the moral and religious compass of the area.
As you all know, the negative interventions by regional powers is a significant factor in the escalation of the war. The motivation is obviously their interest in controlling Sudan's resources. Emirates is clearly siding with one party to the conflict, while Egypt is clearly siding with the other. We also know that there are other regional and international interests in Sudan, whether those of Saudi Arabia, Russia, China, Turkey, or those of America and the West. We understand that these interests are the drive for their policies towards Sudan, rather than the true Sudanese people interests.
Sudan will be free. UAE, you will see. All Sudan will be free. All Sudan will be free.
UAE, you will see.
All Sudan will be free.
RSF, you will see.
All Sudan will be free. Stop the killing now, 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 now.
Yeah, so today we've all come together to march to raise awareness for the biggest humanitarian crisis that's happening in the world right now that has been getting very, very little airtime in the media. It is the casualties that are happening in Sudan as a result of a proxy war, which is being prolonged and funded by external entities. All these different countries, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Russia, and countless others actually have been actively influencing the outcome of this conflict to secure their own material gains. The UAE especially actively funds and aids the RSF, who have been going through Sudan, pillaging, raping, looting. I guess it's really important that we all come together so that we show Sudan that they're not alone, and also show each other here, the diaspora, the allies, that we're also not alone, because it's a very lonely experience to be going through. So we went to 4 different embassies today. We started off with the Egyptian embassy. I think it's really important that we go to these embassies specifically because it's not always clear where the funding or where the influences in this war, in this proxy war, are coming from. A lot of times if we frame it as a civil war, we're completely discounting the fact that it's not just Sudan who is involved in this conflict, and in fact it is a lot of different countries. And so we go to Egypt to call them out for their support of the SAF and also for their inhumane treatment of Sudanese refugees, for their lack of treatment of these asylum seekers, the most vulnerable people who have reached their land after trouble, to then demonize them and arbitrarily arrest them, hold them in inhumane conditions and then deport them. We want to let the world know as we're going to the embassy, and also those at the embassy know that we can't just sit by silently and accept this. We then went to Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia likes to make themselves seem like the peacemakers in this conflict. But in actuality, they are just as motivated by wanting control over Red Sea access, over our oil reserves, over our agricultural value, and they're not being very transparent in how they are funding the Sudanese armed forces as well. All of this is prolonging the war because instead of it, I guess, naturally running out of material resources to continue fighting, they are just continuing to get funding from external entities to be able to continue fighting. I would like to see the world pay more attention to Sudan. I'd like it to be depicted not just as an African country with African issues, but a country filled with all these different types of people. And issues that affect people here as well. These are women's issues, these are children's issues, human rights issues. This is racism and patriarchy and capitalism. This is colonialism and imperialism baked into the very fabric of society there and here. I'd like the world to be more aware of the fact that things don't happen in a vacuum, and there have been a lot of things that have led to this outcome. I'd like to see a future where there is transparency and there is accountability taken. I'd like to see the UK government hold some of their friends and allies, and some of them not friends and allies, accountable to what they are doing to the Sudanese people. I'd also like the UK government to treat refugees here better. A lot of people aren't able to survive and leave their countries because of the effects of imperialism and colonialism, and then they come here and are demonized, and I would like to see greater protection for those people, for the most vulnerable people of our societies in this society as well.
I'm Sudanese, born in the Sudan, grown up in London. I just want to say that I feel as though with everything that's happening in the world at the moment, with the genocide in Gaza and the war in Ukraine, there's a real competition for attention, and we live in an attention economy. And so the Sudanese struggle and genocide is being lost. It's being lost in the world. And I think that at the moment what I observe is people hate Zionism more than they love humanity. Their attention is rightly so and justifiably so being drawn to the situation in Gaza, the genocide in Gaza, and also Zionism, which needs to be dismantled. But also we need to pay attention to what's happening in other parts of the world, such as Sudan, such as the Congo, where people are being murdered, who are dying, who are suffering, and we need to want to sustain life everywhere. Everywhere. We need to want to sustain life, love humanity more than we hate. More than we hate Zionism, we need to love humanity. And that's my message.
Okay, anything else you'd like to say? Or?